What's going on, world? It's your boy Tripple Rich, and I'm back like the last name on a jersey. Today is Kicktalk Volume 11, and we're going to talk about one of the most gangster Nikes of all time, the Nike Cortez. So let's go. So before we get into it, let's talk about some fun facts about the shoe. Number one, did you know that this shoe was so threatening that if you wore this shoe in the 90s in a LA school county, they would send you home? Two, did you know that the name, the Nike Cortez, was not only like the fourth name of the shoe, but also that name was used to troll Adidas? I know, it's crazy. So let's talk about it. Before we talk about the Cortez and how it got its gangster status, first we got to talk about Nike and its inception. Nike started with Bill Bowerman, who was the running head coach of the Oregon Ducks track team in the 50s and 60s, as well as one of his proteges, Phil Knight. Phil Knight ran for the track team, and shortly after he graduated, he and Bill Bowerman teamed up. They believed that the Japanese technology on running sneakers was going to come to America soon, and they wanted to be one of the first people to bring it here. So they started this company called Blue Ribbon, and Blue Ribbon was an exporter of Japanese footwear to America. Specifically, they had a contract with Onitsuka Tiger, and they would bring those shoes to America. They brought them to the Oregon track team as well as other track teams, and they were immediate hit. And during this time, as they were creating their relationship as Blue Ribbon with Onitsuka Tiger, Bill Bowerman was also trying to design another sneaker that he felt could take runners to the next level. What he did was he split the foam rubber sole and put a little sponge in between. That's why if you will see a Nike Cortez, you will see this split. This was actually one of the first things Nike got famous for, which was communicating its technology in its shoe. Now, with Bill Bowerman designing the shoe for Onitsuka Tiger, the first name he came up with was the TG24. TG was short for Tiger. I would say the blueprint started around 1967, and 1968 you had the Mexico Olympics coming up. So he said, okay, let's name the shoe the Mexico. Well, because of the patents and everything that had to clear the shoe, by the time the design was finalized, the Mexican Olympics had passed. So he said, okay, well, let's pay homage to the Mexicans, and let's call this shoe the Nike Aztec. They wanted to name it that, but as soon as they looked it up, legal rights would have Adidas owning the name Aztec because they came out with a spiked track shoe called the Azteca Gold. Being frustrated about this, Phil Knight takes a trip to Bill Bowerman's house and it says, okay, what are we going to name the shoe? Bill Bowerman says, okay, what's the name of the dude that kicked the Aztecs' ass? It was the conquistador Hernan Cortez. So they said, all right, we're going to name the shoe Cortez as a direct shot at Adidas to let them know that this small and upcoming company was on the way up. The boys, Bill Bowerman and Phil Knight, decide, as good as Blue Ribbon is, we want our own brand. So they come up with Nike, the goddess of victory, which is the name, and the Cortez is their first shoe. What happens is, because they still have a direct contact with their Japanese manufacturer, one of the managers comes to visit to see how the Blue Ribbon warehouse looks. He discovers these Cortezes that they made through Onitsuka Tiger with a fat Nike check on. He takes it back to his headquarters in Japan, and they are not pleased. Shortly after that, a legal battle ensues. The legal battle lasts for a good 4 or 5 years, and what comes out of it is they say, because Bill Bowerman designed the shoe while he was working for Onitsuka Tiger, that company can keep the shoe design. But Nike, because he's now an owner of this company, can keep the name Cortez. So this crazy thing that happens, and they're still around today, you can go to Onitsuka Tiger and look for the company's shoe called Corsair, or you can go to Nike and go to the Cortez. Both exactly the same shoe, and this is the only time in sneaker history ever that the same model of shoe has been a top seller for two companies. Crazy info. Anyway, so Nike owns the Cortez. They start playing with it. They start seeding it to U.S. Olympians in 1972, and the shoe is an immediate hit. So much so that they have supply chain issues. The shoe is selling out, and the company is honestly having a good problem. They don't know how to fulfill the demand. Then, 2-3 years down the road, we're at 1975. Nike decides, all right, we're going to do away with the leather from the original, and we're going to put nylon on the shoe. Nylon is a bit thinner, well, a lot thinner than leather. It's lighter and it's very durable. Because of this, Nike is able to call the Cortez Nylon the lightest sneaker of all time. 10 years after that, we're in the 80s now. The shoe is now maybe not the most favorable thing as Nike's pushing out new technology left and right. You got Jordans, Air Force Ones, all that good stuff. But the Cortez is still around. This is where the gangster status comes. First off, in the 80s, you have Eazy-E rocking the Cortez. Associated with NWA, Boys in the Hood, all of that, it becomes a South Central hit. Around that time, he drops a song called Dope Man. Cortezes are no longer that name. Now they're Dope Man Nikes. At one point, little kids couldn't even wear this to middle school in LA County because they would be sent home because it was too gang affiliated. People couldn't even wear Cortezes to certain neighborhoods because they would either get checked or they would get beat up and the shoes would get stolen. I would say the height of the gangsterism of the Cortez is MS-13. That was their go-to shoe. That was a part of their uniform. So there's been some crazy developments with the Cortez. You've seen it all through pop culture. You've had George Costanza from Seinfeld wear it. You've seen Tom Hanks run cross country in Forrest Gump in it. If you watch the movie Juice, Q had this ill pair of dark green Cortezes on. And most recently, I would say Kendrick Lamar has been the newest, I would say, poster child for the Cortez. He said in one of his most controversial rap songs, Control, where he called out all the rappers in this industry, that he said, I'm not wearing high fashion no more. I'm only going to wear white tees and Cortez. I have seen him do a Kung Fu Kenny. He's done a house slipper version. He's done actually 4 different versions of the Cortez to date. And actually, since 2022, there have been over 700 Cortez styles to come out. Personally, the nylon does it for me. I think just the way it sits on the foot and the fact that it's a very breathable, light material, it just gives me personally more 70s, 80s vibes than even the original leather that came out. So if you ask me, the nylon Cortez is the superior model, and I don't see the shoe going away anytime soon. Came out in 1972. Here we are still talking about it, and I can't expect for the next 50 years that the shoe is going to go out of style. It's the shoe that brought Nike into existence. It's the shoe that still is bringing Nike money today. What are your thoughts about the Nike Cortez? Have you ever had some? Have you had a crazy story about maybe a gangster run-in? Have you felt like a gangster when you had the shoe on? What are your opinions? I'd love to hear from you. And this is Kick Talk Volume 11. Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, all that stuff you know you're supposed to do. But until then, I'm going to keep working on getting better. And I know you will too. Until then, peace.